Help give kids an extra life by donating today to help sick and injured children. Link in the description and pinned comment below.
I guess you could say I've been doing this for quite a long time.
Back in October of 2011, I made my first major video here on YouTube. I was inspired by other people who were making countdowns at the time, and I just figured, hey, I can do that. So you know what? I did. Just about 10 years later and, well, here I am. Still making videos and still enjoying it. Am I crazy trying to balance this with a full-time job? Sometimes it seems like that, but in some of my lowest points in that time, it's actually helped to keep me sane. Not to mention I've met some great friends thanks to this hobby. So to thank everyone who supported my channel over these past 10 years, I'm going to take a look back and highlight some of the things I'm happy to have accomplished during this time. You know, kind of a stroll down memory lane. Now I'm mainly judging these based on how proud I am to have accomplished them and not necessarily how well they hold up by today's standards. If I did that, you probably wouldn't see anything from more than 5 years ago. Okay, how about some retrospection, my dear fans? It's game time!
Fun fact, this channel nearly died not long after it truly started.
You see, back in late 2011, not long after the release of my first countdown, in fact it was literally days, a certain piece of legislation was introduced that could have threatened video game video makers like myself. I'm sure there are at least some of you out there who remember SOPA, the bill that threatened mass censorship in the name of stopping piracy. I was so scared of the possible consequences, I actually pulled my first countdown for a while. Man, did the internet raise a stink about that, though. And considering I'm still making videos, you can probably guess that it worked. So, to celebrate that victory for fair use and the subsequent comeback I was able to make, I based my second countdown around, well, comebacks. Whether it's reboots, recoveries from previous bad games, or just a new entry after a long absence, these were games that marked returns for franchises, and it was part of helping me establish my style of video making. Two things in particular made their debut in this video which were a part of my method to this day: the use of cold opens, and the use of box art in my number descriptions. While my top 10 Kirby abilities list was my warm-up, my comebacks list was where I really started to get going. Seriously, it's even listed as growing the beard on my TV Tropes page.
Yes, I have a TV Tropes page, don't ask.
Those of you who have been with me for the long haul can likely surmise that Mega Man is my favorite franchise. It's gotten to the point where I'm kind of typecast as a Megatuber, despite me making plenty of other stuff. But that doesn't mean I'm blind to its faults. And when it comes to the faults of the Mega Man franchise and my channel, the one video that sticks out the most is probably top 15 worst Mavericks. Originally, this was going to be a collab with Fawful's Minion. We'd even worked out a collab script. So, what happened? In short, life happened. The project ended up festering for a good long while, and even though the collab ended up falling through, I promised him that I would not let our work go to waste. And among my negative videos, it's still among the videos that gets the most views month over month. Clearly, finishing what the two of us started was a good idea. I went to town on these pieces of shit. From the annoying to the pathetic to the frustrating, I was doing enough ripping into the most defective of droids from the X series for the both of us. In fact, I even kept several of the jokes he'd put in to keep the spirit of the collab alive. And even though it shows its age, I'm still proud of this countdown for a couple reasons. On the one hand, I was able to get a monkey off my back that I admittedly put there to begin with. On the other hand, I was able to help give Logan some much-needed closure on this. He's doing a lot better now. Can't say I'm responsible, honestly, but still, I'm glad for him.
Alright, it's about time I bring up my Patreon. Not to plug it, mind you, but because this next video was a milestone for it.
I started my Patreon in 2015, again, following a trend started by some of my colleagues in order to supplement my YouTube income, because, let's face it, the algorithm frickin' hates us. One of my milestone rewards was a review of Mega Man X7, one of my most hated games ever. Well, eventually I reached the goal to make that video. And if I was gonna thank my patrons with a teardown of a specter of my past, I was going to go all in. I was putting this game on trial, to the point where the introduction to the video was a parody of the old show Dragnet. Funny thing was, there were some people who actually got that reference despite how old that show was. Hell, this was the reason I got my current camcorder, so I could record the scenery of West Allis, Wisconsin in 1080p and 60 FPS. In fact, this was my first 60 FPS video and probably has some of my most extensive acting. Human interest shots, a little special effects, that kind of stuff. As far as the actual review, I went over things with a fine-toothed comb. The last thing I wanted to do was to devolve into constant screaming and cursing.
I speak from experience when I say that trying to force anger is a recipe for maximum cringe. At least with Top 15 Worst Mavericks, I felt myself getting genuinely angry while I was recording my lines.
Instead, I went into full-on forensic mode, picking apart the game piece by piece and going in depth as to why I hate this game, ending with me giving the game the fate that it deserves. While I don't do reviews of console games these days, I can still look back at this and say I made my patrons proud. You know how some people like to make April Fool's videos? Sometimes they're stupid parodies, and sometimes they're legit videos just about silly topics. This one is the latter. The joke? Mine came early. Granted, if I wanted to go all in on the joke, I would have released it on the 1st of April, but my schedule is a major video on or around the 25th of each month.
Hey, it's on brand for me.
I actually had the idea in my head for top 10 mindfucks for some time. In fact, one of my friends made a video on this same topic years ago, and I figured it would be refreshing if I gave my own take on the idea. Moments that are weird, crazy, and just fucked up beyond all sense of sanity. Be they funny, disturbing, or downright mind-warping, these were moments that threw the very idea of normal out the window. That being said, there was no way I could just make this a normal countdown now, could I? People in the comments noticed, but for those who didn't, I made the countdown a mind-screw in itself. Starting with subtle changes like a moved poster, or missing glasses, or a different plushie, and progressing to stuff like various video effects on my on-camera segments, and culminating in the effect of my voice coming out of the Green Scorpion's mouth. I actually loved how that turned out. Thanks a lot for that, by the way, Oscar. This is honestly one of the most fun countdowns I've made. The nature of the topic itself, along with the timing of its release, pretty much gave me license to go in hard on the editing and just embrace the mindfuck and its bizarreness. The only regret I have with this video is I can only suspect that changing the title to its proper moniker triggered YouTube's stupid age restriction.
Let's face it, the whole concept of normal is just a social construct anyway.
When I originally started QG at the arcade, I hadn't even come up with a proper name for the series. I just saw it as making videos about arcade games, both classics and the obscure alike. I figured it would be a much needed shakeup for the videos I make. Even though these videos don't typically have the same numbers as my countdowns do, I still really enjoy making them. Not to mention it's on brand for me, being an arcade fan and all that. The first of these videos was on the original Pac-Man, and I thought it would take less time than 2 1/3 years for me to cover another Namco game. Well, it took me 2 1/3 years.
So if I was going to get back to Namco finally, I figured I'd have some fun with it.
With Pac-Man being Namco's most iconic arcade series, natural progression would lead me down the line to the Galaxian series. This series was more extensive than a lot of people realize. That's part of the point of QG at the arcade, going into the history of arcade games and sometimes entire series of games. I also learned a few things about this series myself. Who would have thought that Star Wars was one of the game's direct inspirations? Or that one of the more obscure games in the series helped lead to games like Star Fox. Said game originally being designed like a theme park attraction, mind you. But another thing I'm proud of with this video is how I presented it. You see, I've been developing an interest in tokusatsu shows, among these being Kamen Rider. And one season of Kamen Rider, that being Kamen Rider X-Aid, not only had video games as a part of its motif, but also had a few special toys based on a few Namco arcade games. And one of them just happened to be Galaxian. Perfect idea for a prop, and helped me make this a throwback to the days when reviewers made videos that had their own little story arcs. Man, those were some crazy times, weren't they?
In any case, if you enjoy arcade games, I hope you take the time to check these videos out. Wait, what's this Gashat doing here? And in this installment of The Quarter Guy Loves Mega Man, Let's Plays!
I'm sure there's at least some of you people who already know just how bad most of the 2010s were for Mega Man. From cancellations, to a botched anniversary, to general silence outside of fan-made games, it was rough being a fan of the Blue Bomber. Then came December 2017, the 30th anniversary of Mega Man, and the fateful reveal of Mega Man 11.
Minds melted and exploded that day. Mine sure did.
I had to celebrate this glorious occasion somehow, but I'd covered nearly every base as far as countdowns go by this point. Weapons, Robot Masters, Net Navis, Mavericks, the games themselves, you name it. So I did something that some might consider crazy under any other circumstances. I decided to play the entire Classics series front to back, from 1 all the way through 10, plus the Wily Tower, plus the 2 arcade games, plus Mega Man 5 on Game Boy, plus Mega Man and Base. That last one was the most frustrating. There's a reason why I made it an Extra Life milestone reward. The whole thing took up a total of 72 videos, uploaded nearly once daily, with a total length of almost a solid day. Yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna binge that. Whether it was getting salty over a couple bullshit levels, cracking jokes about bees, my god, or making fun of Mega Man 8's cheesy-ass voice acting, this was a fun and entertaining trip down memory lane, and a reminder of why I love these games so goddamn much. I also had fun putting in these little touches here and there, just to make things a little more lively. The fact that I was able to put these out with such consistency is also something I'm definitely proud of here. And it's my biggest Let's Play project to date, in terms of the number of videos at least. In terms of total time, my LP of the Zero ZX Legacy Collection is even longer.
And yes, I am considering playing through the X series if Capcom announces X9. Not that I'm looking forward to Gates Lab. Or all of X7.
Well, just because I've been memed on for it doesn't mean I can't say I'm proud of it.
That's right, it's Castlevania month, bitches!
As much as I hyperfixate on Mega Man, Castlevania tends to be a close second for me. My first Halloween special was a countdown of boss battles from the franchise. I really should consider remaking that one at some point. In 2018, I did a review of the reboot, which would end up being my last standard game review. In between those, in 2015, I decided to slake my thirst for Castlevania Blood by dedicating the whole month of October to the franchise. Week 1, I started by going over my favorite characters in the franchise. Week 2, my first music-related countdown listing my favorite themes in the series. Week 3, a follow-up to my favorite Castlevania bosses by ripping into my picks for the worst bosses in the series, including some well-deserved busting of Konami's chops. Week 4, a collab with my buddy Green Scorpion, ranking how well the unorthodox spin-off Castlevania Judgment treated each of its characters. And wrapping things up on Halloween night with my top 10 favorite games in the whole series. This was the first time I dedicated an entire month to multiple countdowns regarding a single franchise, so I felt I needed to make it about a series I was passionate about. Because clearly I cared more about this series than Konami does nowadays.
Yeah, fuck Konami always. That's for the culture.
Throw in a couple of streams of classic games over on Twitch and a side video or two, and boom. All treats, no tricks. Also, here's a little fun fact for you. Only a few days before the start of October that year, there was a super blood moon eclipse. I like to think that this celestial event was an omen for me, as if it was my destiny to go through with it, just like it's the destiny of the Belmont clan to oppose the forces of Dracula every century. So, will there be a Castlevania Month 2 Adam's Quest at some point in the future? Well, I'm not currently planning on it, but you know what they say, no rest for the wicked, especially when it comes to vampires. I believe one of the most satisfying challenges a video maker can undertake is the collab video. The reason I say that is because you gotta write a script together in which you play off of each other instead of simply relying on just yourself, and you gotta balance your opinions together to come up with something cohesive. But it's worth it in the end because you learn from each other to improve your craft. Honestly, the experience I've gained from these collabs is some of the most important during my time as a video maker. But if you were to ask me which one I feel the most proud of having done, well, I can't decide. I just can't. It's like choosing which game out of my backlog I should start next. So instead, I'm just gonna dump them all into one entry and briefly go over them one by one. Top 15 Pokemon Gym Leaders with Idionoben, my first collab, and it helped me understand the value of collaboration even if it doesn't hold up all that well. Top 10 Cheapest Fighting Game Bosses with WeDude83. I appreciate the little machinima bits he threw in there, great touch. Top 20 Mario Kart tracks with Black Mage Benjamin. Some of my silliest moments come from this collab. Top 20 Mega Man Battle Network neck navies with the Green Scorpion. Really wanted to give that generation its due, though there is one joke I'd replace knowing what I know now. Top 14 Castlevania Judgment characters, also with the Green Scorpion. Hey, we both like that game, warts and all. Top 12 Friendship Killing Games with Halgonia Ken. Probably my favorite skit acting, including a nod to Hellsing Ultimate Abridged. Top 10 Worst Monster Hunter Monsters with Ragnilla. We really let off some steam in that one. Top 10 Capcom Fails with Joshscorcher. He asked me if I was interested, I said, oi. Top 10 Worst Mega Man Zero Bosses with Count Shaman. More venting, as well as fun with avatar images. And my most recent to date, Top 10 Special Pokemon Forms with Digital Tie. We had this in the works for a while. Good way to kick off the franchise's 25th anniversary. Big thanks to all these people because the experience was indeed special.
Definitely more to follow later. Possibly sooner than you might think.
In case you don't know, I also stream on Twitch. Typically on weekends since I also have a full-time job, mind you, but it's still something fun to do. But I also use it for something better. Of every project on this list, this is the one that is still continuously going. Because I am a proud Extra Lifer. For those of you who don't know, Extra Life is a fundraising program which recruits gamers like me to raise money for local hospitals to help sick and injured children. It began in 2008, and in 2010, it became a program of Children's Miracle Network hospitals, which raises funds for over 170 hospitals in the US and Canada. Extra Lifers raise money through regular streams, through the live Extra Life United event, through special weekends like Tabletop Weekend in August, and the highlight of the year, the annual 24-hour Game Day Marathon. To date, they've raised a total of over $87 million to help children, thanks to gamers everywhere. I first learned about this program from a friend of mine who was doing it. After reading more about it, I figured, hey, I could put my online presence towards a good cause. I honestly had nothing to lose, and helping kids is always a good thing. After seeing the stories of little kids that Children's Miracle Network hospitals have helped over the years, there was no way I could say no. So in 2015, I ran my first game day, raising over $1,500 for the Phoenix Children's Hospital. Since then, I've been continuing my Extra Life campaigns after moving back to my home state of Wisconsin, raising funds for Children's Wisconsin, formerly known as the Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. As of the time of writing, I've raised a total of nearly $6,300 and counting for my local children's hospitals. And it's thanks to people like you supporting my cause. You understand why I keep plugging this, right? It's not for me. It's for kids like Ariana, and Tobin, and Milka. Children whose lives have been saved by Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And I'll continue to support Extra Life for children like them, especially in times like these. It's my way of helping to give back. And hey, you can do it too! If you have a means of streaming or making videos, and you have a local children's hospital you can support, you can start your own Extra Life campaign. You'd have an outlet for yourself, and you'd be helping to save kids' lives.
The way I see it, this is a game where everybody wins.
And before we move on, here are a few honorable mentions. Top 10 Kirby copy abilities, along with its follow-up. Top 5 best and worst Bowser battles. My Xenoblade Chronicles review. My playthrough of the Mega Man Zero ZX Legacy Collection. And the Metroid Legacy. Considering how I was picking this list, this could only lead to one logical conclusion. By today's standards, yeah, I can understand that it might not exactly hold up. But to this day, it remains the biggest and most ambitious project I've ever completed. Okay, maybe that's not quite accurate. I should actually say that it's the biggest project that I and my budding community had created.
One more E-Tank for the road, people!
Whether you saw this one coming will likely depend on how long you've been following me. If you've joined me recently, you may not know that this mega countdown even exists. On the other hand, if you've been with me since the beginning, this might have been obvious. The truth is, for me, Top 50 Robot Masters was proof that I was capable of doing big things as a video maker. The reason I'm so proud of this project is because of a combination of what this project was and why it was made. This was made for Mega Man's 25th anniversary, where the only thing Capcom made was a crappy mobile game that never left Asia and didn't even last 2.5 years. Okay, there was also that crossover with Street Fighter, but that was a fan game that got official support. Kinda like Sonic Mania, only to a lesser extent. Fan content more or less defined that year, and I wanted to be a part of it. I was actually inspired by 2 videos in particular: Fawful's Minion's top 100 favorite Pokemon, and Joshscorcher's top 10 co-op games. The former being a super project lasting several videos expressing Logan's love for one of his favorite franchises, one that he plans on remaking, mind you. The latter was a super collab, featuring voicing by others who auditioned to do parts of the countdown, something that was done in the spirit of the topic. While that wouldn't exactly work nowadays, at the time it was a way of helping get the word out about other video makers. At the time, I was basically in mad scientist mode, ironically enough, and decided to take both ideas and put them together to celebrate the occasion. 50 bosses, 15 guests, 5 videos, tons of references, plenty of cheese, and even a joke that became a prophecy. It all came together for a party we ended up throwing ourselves because Capcom wouldn't. This was a labor of love, a product of incredible ambition, and something that I, along with my fans, can be proud that we even accomplished. Even nearly 9 years later, we can look back at this and say, we did that. Regardless of its quality compared to today's standards, we did that.
And before I sign off for the month, let me thank all of you for supporting my work over these past 10 years. Whether you've only joined recently, or you've been a loyal fan from the very beginning, the fact that I've been able to share my passion with you all has made it all worthwhile. And rest assured, I'll continue to do my best to keep you all entertained. No algorithm in the universe is going to stop me. I'm the Quarter Guy, and until next time, the arcade is closed.
Hey everyone, QG here. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the video around. Feel free to check out my Twitter and my Twitch streams, and consider supporting me through Patreon and donating to my Extra Life campaign to support Children's Wisconsin. Thanks for watching.